I'm Merritt Onsa, and you're listening to the Devoted Dreamers podcast, the podcast for dreamers, creators, and makers who are eager to wake up in the morning with the confidence to say, this is who God made me, and this is the dream He's given me. If you have a dream on your heart, but you're confused about how to move forward, or you have fear, anxiety, and you worry that you're not enough, you're halted by comparison because somebody else is already doing your dream, or you're struggling to believe there is anything God could ever use you for, welcome to Season 7. You're about to receive the encouragement you need to pursue that dream. Through the stories of women just like you who have faced their fears, fought back lies, taken bold steps, and are still in the middle of it. Stick around and you will be emboldened to take the next step. Grow in confidence in your identity in Christ, become sure of His faithfulness in your life, and be inspired by the good He will fuel through you in the world. Because, sister, the victory is already yours. Hey dreamers, welcome to another solo episode of the Devoted Dreamers podcast. This is actually my last solo episode for Season 7, and I know some of you wait with bated breath for these. I'm sorry, I've only given you 3 this season, but we've been doing those strategy sessions every other month, and those have been super fun as well. So I'm curious, are you on the list to get my monthly dream letter? If so, and you got it last week, this topic's going to sound a little bit familiar to you. If not, be sure to go get signed up. You could even hit pause and go do it right now. This is a once-a-month glimpse into the dream-related topics that God has put on my heart for you. And you can go sign up on my website at merrittonsa.com. There's a little pop-up box that comes up when you go to the site. But anyway, for today's episode, although I will be covering some of the same things I did in the dream letter, I'm also going to send you away at the end with an assignment, if that's okay with you. Because, summer's coming. I'm taking a break from creating new podcast episodes, more about what you'll find in their place in just a minute. But my heart for you is that you don't let 3 more months go by without making some progress on your dream. But before I get into all of that, I first want to thank my sponsor, Faithful Counseling, for the opportunity they've given me to serve as an ambassador for their services. And at the same time, they are supporting my work to see Christian women, devoted dreamers like you, set free from fear, comparison, and imposter syndrome so you can live out your God-shaped dreams. If you've heard any part of my testimony here or on another podcast where I've been a guest, you already know I had a lot of junk in my past to work through. I became a Christian at 30, so there's a lot that can happen before then, right? Let's be honest, we'll call it what it was. It was sin. And I did a lot of that emotional, spiritual work during 7 years. In the first 10 years of being a Christian, I was a participant and a leader in my local Celebrate Recovery program. And God ran circles of miracles around me during that time and changed my heart from a heart of stone to a heart of flesh. I am seriously a different woman today. And if it weren't for having done some of the difficult internal work during those years, I'm not sure I'd be doing this work right now. Because I lived in a deep, dark hole of shame, fear, regret, people-pleasing, perfectionism, and trying to get my needs met wherever I could, usually through relationships with men. It crippled my hope and creativity. This dream, as it exists for me today, is the result of who I was before, because I long for other women to know the freedom, too, that I found in dealing with my junk. With the Lord, right? And this is one of the reasons I said yes to partner with Faithful Counseling, because the internal work you do to bring your junk to the foot of the cross is crucial to the viability of your God-shaped dream. It's crucial to your dream not just totally crushing you because you haven't dealt with all that stuff in your past. And there's no shame in this. We all need healing from living in this broken world. It's just how it is. So whether you've been hurt by someone, or you've been the one to do the hurting, or you just know that there's a piece you've seen in others that doesn't fully reside in you, girlfriend, it's time to do the work. In fact, I would say if you've been stuck on a dream, going nowhere, beating yourself up because you know God has called you to something, but you just can't make that step toward it, I suggest you put down your phone, turn off this podcast, seriously, pull out those earbuds, and figure out how you can find healing for the hurts, habits, hangups, and wounds from your past. Your dream cannot thrive if you are holding on to old wounds or covering them up, living in denial and pretending they aren't there. Faithful counseling is just one option of a place you might go to deal with some of those things. In fact, it's a great option right now, especially in this pandemic life we're living, and I highly recommend them to you. Once a week sessions with your counselor. You'll have opportunities to chat with them via the secure website anytime between sessions. Faithful Counseling matches you with a counselor as soon as you fill out that profile, like within 24 hours. And I've found they do a great job making connections between what you share about your needs in counseling and the counselor's experience that they have on their roster. What do you have to lose? I mean, as a Devoted Dreamers listener, they're offering 10% off for your first month just by using my link, getfaithful.com/dreamers. That's getfaithful.com/dreamers, and that'll let them know that I sent you. Okay, so now to today's topic. How do you answer the question when someone asks, "Hey, so what do you do?" Have you ever had that perfect opportunity to share your dream and you got tongue-tied, or you went on and on and on and on and on because you couldn't find the precise words to explain this to someone that you've just met? I feel you. I have totally been there. I've done that a time or two. So this month, I want to delve into this topic of how we talk about our dreams, because I think it's an important step as you work to define what exactly you do or feel passionate about. Because having clarity about your dream helps you make decisions about your steps, and it allows you to be able to clearly share it with others who might want to join you in the journey. So this is not a one-time exercise. I will admit I have been working on the language of my dream for probably 2 years now. It really started way before that. It's just like a glimmer of something. You probably know that feeling. But it's really been 2 years since I began to think intentionally about how to describe what it is I believe God made me for, especially how to describe it to somebody who knows nothing about me or has very little background on who I am. So I think the first thing, and this has come up for me just in the last couple of weeks, I had a recent conversation with my friend and fellow podcaster, Esther Littlefield, as part of her confidence this topic back up for me. And when I talk about my dream, people automatically assume that my dream is this podcast. And while I love this podcast, no, that was never the end goal. So in my conversation with Esther, she used the word vehicle in talking about things like a podcast, a blog, writing a book, or a nonprofit. Whatever it is you feel compelled to produce or create, that thing is probably not the dream itself. That thing is just the vehicle by which we seek to fulfill the bigger dream. And the bigger dream is a dream that probably couldn't be achieved overnight or in a few months or even over a few years. These dreams kind of have this sense of longevity. And our big, audacious, God-shaped dreams, if they're from Him, sound more like vision statements. And we've probably all heard language like vision and mission statements. Like these are big words in our world right now. Whether you're in business or part of a nonprofit, like everybody's talking about their vision and mission statements. Well, for a long time, these two terms were confused in my mind. I couldn't really tell you what the difference was, but today I feel like it's pretty simple. A vision statement is a forward-thinking, overarching description of an ideal condition that is yet to come. This is just my definition. According to a HubSpot blog post I read recently, they describe a vision statement as communicating where a company aspires to be upon achieving its mission. It's like the end game. A few vision statement examples that they shared in that article that I thought were actually really helpful to see some examples. One was Teach for America, which says, one day, all children in this nation will have the opportunity to attain an excellent education, which it's devastating that that's not actually already true, but that's an example of a vision statement. LinkedIn has one that's super simple. Create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. I love it. It talks about who it's for. It talks about what they do. Here's Disney, a little bit more wordy, but it's Disney. So here you go. To entertain, inform, and inspire people around the globe through the power of unparalleled storytelling, reflecting the iconic brands, creative minds, and innovative technologies that make ours the world's premier entertainment company. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Another way to think about the language that we give our dream is something I learned from Donald Miller over at StoryBrand. He's provided a short video. He does a bunch of these. So if you're not familiar with him or with StoryBrand, super helpful marketing tips over there. But the one that I saw from maybe last year even was called How to Get Anyone's Attention. And in it, Donald Miller says the trick is to begin with the problem you solve. And he shares this great anecdote of being at a cocktail party and meeting somebody who's a private chef, and how that person explains what they do, communicates the problem they solve, kind of helps you decide like, oh yeah, maybe I do need a private chef. So understanding this, and be sure to watch that video for those helpful examples. But I began writing and rewriting my vision statement with that in mind, so that when somebody says, what do you do? I'm able to think about, oh, here's the problem I solve. And so here, I'm going to share it with you. This is my ever-evolving working draft, the way that I've used the problem solving and vision casting concepts, whether it's in a bio or an introduction for speaking engagements. This is what it sounds like. You know those negative thoughts, the ones that pop up when you consider trying something new? They sound a little like, who am I to do this? I don't even know where to begin. I don't have enough experience or training. Well, my work is all about pouring God's truth over women who struggle with fear, comparison, or imposter syndrome, so that they would be set free to live out their God-shaped dreams for the praise of His glory. Also a mouthful, but it feels so much truer to who I am and who I want to be than if I say, oh, I host a podcast for Christian women, which, in fact, unless I'm talking to a Christian woman, it usually ends the conversation. I mean, someone might ask me something technical, or they might say, oh, I've thought about starting a podcast. But using this kind of more overarching, this more vision casting statement, this problem solving description is so much more comprehensive about what I do. And you might notice I didn't even say the word podcast in the description, because that inevitably comes up as someone hears that problem-solving language and begins to ask me more questions. But the bottom line for me is that I've communicated what's important to me, my values for my dream, so to speak, in the form of a vision statement that is about a reality that is yet to come. Have you ever written a vision statement for your dream? If not, I've created a printable worksheet just for you, so you can begin to process this now and work on that. Remember, it's taken me like 2 years to get mine to a place where it almost rolls off my tongue in conversation. And I want to help you get there with your dream, so that when someone asks, what do? You have a concise way to share it, so that you can not only answer the question with confidence, but also begin to live it out more fully. I really want this for you. You know, I believe God gives us these dreams for the praise of His glory. They are His dreams. And as His humble servants, it is such a privilege to get to live them out. Again, for our good and for His glory. And so I'm going to give you that worksheet here verbally, just in a nutshell. These are the steps to writing a vision statement for your dream. Number 1, start with gaining an understanding of your giftings, your strengths, your weaknesses. Like, what are you good at? Where do you struggle? If you haven't done this, spend time doing this. Then number 2, identify your audience. Who does your dream serve? And be as specific as possible here. You might have heard this described as an avatar, and as if you're speaking to one person about the dream. Number 3, write out your big passion. What is God working out in you? Remember, it's probably not write a book. And maybe it is to begin with, but consider who you are writing for. What change do you expect them to experience as a result of reading your words? And then number 4, identify the problem your dream solves. I know this feels like a ton of pressure, especially for those of us who are like, well, I'm not God, which we're all like that, right? But the good news is that this is a solution that's given to you by the great problem solver. He doesn't expect you to solve the problem. You are not the solution to the problem. He is. Again, I'm going to use that word vehicle again. You are a vehicle for a solution from the Lord being delivered to your audience, to your avatar. Okay, so that's a nutshell for the worksheet. You can find that over in the show notes for this episode, merrittonsa.com/podcast/154. Now let's talk a bit about what's coming for this summer. So this week held a big anniversary for the Devoted Dreamers podcast. On June 1st, I celebrated 4 years since launching this thing. 4 wonderful, challenging years of podcasting. It has been a huge joy. And in that time, I have interviewed nearly 150 amazing Christian women dreamers about the dream God's put on their hearts to do with their one life on this earth. And let me guess, unless you're crazy committed to this show, you probably haven't heard every single one of those interviews. So this summer, I am hand selecting from the 150 previously released episodes to find the ones you might have missed and posting repeats of my very favorite ones for you, starting all the way back in season 1 when this podcast was called Momentum, which I think is going to be kind of fun for those of you who are pretty new listeners and just started with the current episodes. In fact, if you never have heard, I think I called it episode 0. If you've never heard that one, I just went back and listened to it this week. Go check it out. It gives you a little bit of where my heart was when I began the podcast called Momentum. And then for the rest of the summer, you're going to get more of those, the ones that I think you missed out on. I can go look back at the download numbers and be like, how come not very many people listen to this one? Like, there's a ton like that, whether it's because they were, launched near Christmas time and people just weren't listening to podcasts or whatever it is. But I can't wait to share those with you. But in advance of that, I am finishing out this season 7, with next week's episode number 155 that will launch on June 10th with Stephanie Pletka. She's an entrepreneur, speaker, and author of Living Your Best Life. Stephanie's superpower is encouraging others and teaching women how to live life to the full. I'm so excited to close out season 7 with this conversation. And then, as I have been doing for like a year and a half, I'm going to take a week off from publishing an episode. And on June 24th, when it is finally officially summer, those episodes will resume every Wednesday, posting in your app for the rest of the summer, as long as you're subscribed. If you're subscribed, you'll see that. And I'm going to do that through the seasons that follow. So I'll do a couple from season 1, a couple from season 2. I may not get all the way to season 5, but you're going to hear a few different interviews from each of my seasons since the beginning. These are the oldies but goodies, some of the best conversations I've had with dreamers over the last 4 years. And I know we're all kind of coming out of quarantine in a lot of different ways right now, but life may still look a little bit less than normal. I understand that. And I know that the time you used to have to listen to podcasts may not be back in full swing yet. Totally get that. And so I'm thinking that this should help you get caught up as you're able. I'm also working on some journaling questions, like a little packet for each episode to be used as motivation for you to work through the different aspects of your dream or the struggle standing in your way, all connected to each particular interview. So I want to help provide some structure to this because I think in the summer especially, we can benefit from some intentionality in how we spend our time. Probably especially a summer following 2 months in social isolation. We all are a little bit wacky, right? So if you need some structure, those journaling questions will be available to you in a set for purchase at a nominal price via the store on my website at merrittonsa.com/store. It's really like 2 to 3 questions per episode for you to dig into one particular topic, maybe 2. But I really want to offer this to you so that you have something to do for your summer. And the only reason I'm charging for it is because I had to hire somebody to help me to do this because, time is short. So I hope you'll go check that out at merrittonsa.com/store. And those journal pages are going to include the printable worksheet I mentioned earlier that's a perfect follow-up to this episode. Just a few final thoughts today as I wrap up. A reminder that you are being used for the praise of God's glory, to bring His peace, His reconciliation, His hope, and ultimately His gospel to bear on a broken world. And I think this is why He gives us those dreams, that there is so much hurt and brokenness out there, and your dream is probably the thing that keeps you up at night, that you can't stop thinking about, that you sense that God is saying, like, okay, maybe you don't have absolutely 100% of everything you need to do this, but with me, with God at your side, you can do this. You can step forward toward your dream. You are a vessel to be used by Him. And yet He gives us free will to figure out what the day-to-day execution of that mission looks like. And He equips us often through experience that comes from messy action. You've probably also heard me say that He's going to use our weaknesses. He's going to use the gaps, the holes in our expertise. I mean, think about Moses. He's like, I don't have words. I can't speak. Well, He's going to fill in the blanks there. He's going to come alongside you as you say yes to the dream that He's given you. And so let me encourage you today to take messy action. Take some notes that came to mind from this episode. Begin to scribble down what your dream vision statement might look like. Or if you're more of a doodler, like, go listen to this one again and doodle the heck out of it. Like, it seriously doesn't have to be perfect. Mine isn't perfect, but I think spending the time to do the work is really going to benefit you in thinking about how you move forward with this. Because it's one thing to dream, but gosh, if we never took the step to do anything about the dream, what a shame it would be. And so then as you have kind of some notes jotted down, kind of a sense of I'm at least heading in the right direction with my vision statement, a lot of times it really helps to sit down with someone who knows you well, someone who knows your dream and knows you and can push into you a little bit and get to the core of the matter of what God is stirring in you. For me, we're part of a really small church, and my pastor did that for me as part of a leadership course I was taking with him. And he got me to that place of like, I'm crying in a coffee shop because the passion that I feel towards my dream was able to bubble up in a conversation with someone that knows me and cares about what God's put on my heart. So if you don't have someone like that in your life, let me know. I would love to do that with you. Just DM me or email me via my website at merrittonsa.com and let me know you'd like to book a strategy session. I would love to walk you through this process to help you get past this next hurdle, possibly. It might feel like a hurdle to some of you, so that you can begin working on your God-shaped dream. If you're looking for that worksheet again, related to this episode, if you just want to look at that one, you'll find it in the show notes at merrittonsa.com/podcast/154. Well, friend, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today and in season 7. What a weird season it has been here at the beginning of 2020. I pray that you are healthy, that your family is healthy, that you are weathering the storm of this pandemic and the loads of other really difficult things that are happening here in the U.S. right now, if that's where you live, like I do. And I so look forward to hearing your thoughts about these summer repeat episodes. And if you're looking to connect with me and other dreamers, maybe to share a little bit of what you're learning from an episode or how God is revealing your dream, won't you join us over in the Devoted Dreamers Insiders group? I promise to be in there at least once a week to catch up with you all during the summer. Thanks again for listening today. I pray this exercise will be a blessing to you. We all want to make an impact, right? I mean, what are those dreams about anyway? Well, here's a quick way to do that right now for someone who needs what you just heard. Will you take a screenshot of this episode, tag me at MerrittJO, and share it in your Instagram stories so that together we can get this encouraging message into the earbuds of the women who are ready to fight back fear, trust their identity in Christ, and unleash the dreams He's given them for their lives. It's so simple to do, and they will thank you for your recommendation. Then, before you go, if you were encouraged by today's episode, Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review of the show over on iTunes so other dreamers just like you can find the podcast. Until next time, I would love to connect with you over on Instagram or in the Devoted Dreamers Insiders group on Facebook, where you'll find a community of like-minded women who love Jesus and are in the midst of pursuing the dream He's placed on their hearts. Thank you so much for joining me today, and wherever you are with your God-shaped dreams, may you have the courage to take one step toward their realization today.